Welcome to Whispering Cabins, where the woods are quiet, the stories are eerie, and the night whispers just for you. Settle in and listen closely. Tonight, we tell the story of the Trick or Treat Lane. Every Halloween, the little town of Marigold Hollow came alive under the hum of orange string lights and the rustle of dry leaves. Pumpkins lined every porch, glowing like 100 watchful eyes. But for the kids of Marigold Hollow, there was only one destination that mattered: Trick or Treat Lane. It wasn't an official street name, just what everyone called the curved row of old houses at the edge of town. The story went that decades ago, the original residents made a pact. Every Halloween, no matter the weather, no matter the year, they'd hand out the best candy anyone could imagine. And they did. Full-size chocolate bars, caramel apples, even homemade fudge wrapped in ghost-patterned paper. There was only one rule: take what you're given, never ask for more. The parents always repeated it, almost like a prayer. This year, 11-year-old Tommy Granger was determined to beat his own record. He'd mapped his route, reinforced his candy bucket, and even skipped dinner so he could eat treats as he walked. He wore a tattered pirate costume, complete with an eye patch that kept slipping down his face. By the time he reached Trick or Treat Lane, his pillowcase was already half full, but he wasn't stopping now. The air smelled like cinnamon and candle wax. Jack-o'-lanterns flickered along every step. The first house had a woman in a long shawl sitting on her porch. She smiled, her teeth faintly shining in the pumpkin light. "Happy Halloween, dear," she said, holding out a tray of fudge squares. One piece for every ghoul and goblin. Tommy grinned and took one. It melted like butter in his mouth. "Thank you," he said, already trotting off to the next house. The second house gave out caramel apples, real ones, dipped thick and rolled in crushed nuts. The third had entire candy bars, not the bite-sized kind. The fourth offered glowing lollipops that shimmered faintly in the dark, like they'd been sprinkled with starlight. It was the kind of street that felt enchanted. Tommy was doing fine until he reached the Willow House, the one at the very end of the lane. It was the oldest one, its roof sloping like a witch's hat, the windows warm with golden light. No one seemed to live there year-round, but every Halloween, its porch was piled high with pumpkins carved into strange shapes. Spirals, eyes, stars. An old man sat rocking on the porch, a basket of candy in his lap. He smiled when Tommy stepped up. "Trick or treat," Tommy said. "Ah," said the man, voice crackling like old wood. "A pirate this year. Fine costume, lad." He dropped something into Tommy's bucket, a small paper-wrapped bundle. "There you are. Enjoy your night." Tommy looked down. Inside the paper was a cluster of golden candy corn. Not the waxy, cheap kind, but glistening, almost crystalline. He popped one into his mouth and tasted honey and butter and something warm, almost like sunlight. "That's amazing," he said. "Can I have one more?" The old man's smile faded just a little. "Take what you're given," he said softly. "Never ask for more." Tommy hesitated. The candy was so good, though. Maybe the man didn't mean it. Maybe it was just the town legend. When the man turned to greet another group of kids, Tommy quickly reached into the basket and snatched one extra piece. It was small. No one would notice. He unwrapped it as he walked, thinking how silly the rule was. What was the harm in one more? By the time Tommy reached home, the streets were emptying, the air colder. His pillowcase was heavy enough to tear at the seams. He dumped the candy on the living room rug and started sorting it. Chocolates, gummies, lollipops, fudge, apples, wrapped in wax paper. Then he saw the extra candy corn. It wasn't golden anymore. It was dull and gray, like an old stone. Tommy frowned and picked it up. The moment his fingers touched it, the house seemed to go quiet. The refrigerator hum stopped. The TV in the other room muted itself. The wind outside froze mid-rattle. Tommy's breath came out in little puffs of mist. He turned the candy corn over in his hand and noticed a faint movement inside. Something was shifting beneath the surface. He dropped it. It didn't bounce. It hit the rug with a sound like a fingernail tapping glass. The gray candy cracked open. Inside, instead of sugary filling, there was something like a seed. Small, dark, pulsing faintly. It twitched once, then again. Then it sprouted. A single, thread-like root curled out and burrowed into the rug. Another stretched toward his foot. Tommy scrambled backward, heart thudding. The little root reached faster, curling like a vine, climbing his ankle, wrapping up his calf. It was cold and sticky, like spider silk soaked in syrup. He grabbed the nearest thing, a plastic sword from his costume, and tried to scrape it off, but the vine only tightened, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. The TV flickered back on, white static filling the room. Then, through the static, a voice whispered, almost too softly to hear, "Take what you're given." Tommy froze. The candy pile beside him began to shift. The wrappers crinkled, rising and falling like breathing skin. A caramel apple rolled off the pile and hit the floor with a wet thump. One by one, the candies began to move. Each one cracked open like an eggshell, and from inside, the same thin gray vines slithered out, crawling toward him. Tommy screamed and stumbled for the door, but the vines caught his foot again. He yanked free, bolting into the cold night, barefoot, his candy abandoned. When the police found the house the next morning, there was no sign of Tommy. Just a spilled pillowcase of candy, all turned to stone. The living room carpet was torn in places, small, circular patches of dead ashen grass pressing up through the floorboards like something had grown from beneath. A year later, Trick or Treat Lane was as busy as ever. The pumpkins were brighter than before, the candy sweeter. At the very end of the street, on the Willow House porch, the same old man sat rocking, a basket of gold candy corn in his lap. A little girl in a princess dress climbed the steps, smiling shyly. "Trick or treat?" she said. The man smiled and handed her a paper-wrapped bundle. "There you are, dear. Remember the rule." The girl nodded and skipped off down the path. As she left, the old man reached into his basket again and pulled out one of the candies. He turned it in his hand, smiling faintly. For just a second, if you looked closely, you might have seen a faint reflection in its glossy surface, an 11-year-old boy in a pirate costume, smiling through the shimmer of gold. The man placed the candy back into the basket. "Take what you're given," he murmured, eyes glinting like candlelight. "Never ask for more." And the wind carried the whisper all down Trick or Treat Lane. Thank you for spending some time here at Whispering Cabins, where the light is low and the stories linger. If you enjoyed tonight's tale, don't forget to subscribe or share with someone who loves a gentle chill before bed. Until next time, sleep well, if the night lets you.